Hey, what is up, everybody? So today we will be discussing Micah Parsons and his return to Dallas, Texas, his first game against the Cowboys since Jerry Jones made the foolish decision to trade him away about a month ago. And so far this season for the Packers defense, they have gotten much better from last season. They were one of the better defenses last year, sixth best scoring defense. And now they have rocketed up all the way to number one best scoring defense in the NFL with Micah Parsons on the roster. And so I would say at this point, it hasn't been very long, but the Packers are looking like the smarter team here, making the move for an all-time talent. And so I'd imagine if you're Micah Parsons and you're coming back to Dallas, he was trying to get a deal done with the Cowboys. He wanted to return. He had said previously in the offseason that he wanted to be a long-term Cowboy. And the Cowboys were not willing to pay him what he thought he was worth, and they made the decision to trade him away. And so my assumption would be that there's a little more motivation for Micah Parsons in this game. Not that he needs anymore because he plays at a high level pretty much regardless of what's going on. But this is going to be an interesting one to see Micah Parsons in Dallas against the Cowboys. And just looking at this Cowboys offense, they've honestly been pretty good. Their issue has been their last place defense. But my first question here, does the Cowboys offense have any chance at containing the Packers pass rush? I don't think there's a chance. I think the Cowboys offensive line, the chances of them containing Parsons, containing Rashawn Gary, I'd say it's pretty much zero. And it's not just because of how good the Packers defensive line is. Part of it is because the Cowboys offensive line is dealing with multiple injuries to BB and now to Tyler Booker. And so they have some, backups in there right now. And when you throw on top of that, the Packers pass rush has been one of the most dominant in the NFL the first 3 weeks. It's just not looking like a good combination for the Dallas Cowboys, who have struggled early on this season, sitting at 1-2. And I think when you look at the Packers pass rush, no doubt having Micah Parsons there, just his own effect, what he does, the pressures he gets, the sacks he gets, adds a lot for the Packers. But I also think maybe not the bigger impact, but another impact is the reality of what happens to all these other Packers players who are now freed up to do even more because offenses are spending so much time double teaming Micah Parsons. He's getting double teamed at one of the higher rates in the NFL, which was also the case during his time in Dallas. And with Parsons now in Green Bay, Rashawn Gary is probably having one of the better starts to a season he's had. He already has 4.5 sacks, which leads the NFL. And before this season, he had never gotten to 10 sacks in his entire career. And already 3 games in, he is at 4.5 sacks. And I did wonder, and I honestly thought that this could be the first year he got to 10 sacks because Micah Parsons would be demanding so much attention. And so far, we've seen what's happened here with a guy like Rashawn Gary. And so I just think it's going to be tough for the Cowboys to contain them. The other offenses so far this season have not been able to. And the big thing as well for this Cowboys offense is they're without CeeDee Lamb. And so, of course, when they lose CeeDee Lamb, he's probably the bigger part of their offense, one of the better receivers in the NFL. And when you lose him, you lose a lot there. And Dak Prescott, he's struggled the past couple weeks. He currently has 3 touchdowns, 3 picks. The Cowboys offense, it's been pretty good overall, but when you lose CeeDee Lamb, that's just not the type of scenario you want to be in. And this Packers defense so far this year has been elite, best of the best, first in points allowed, third in yards allowed, and first in yards per play allowed. And the thing about the Packers, the reason they're sitting at 2-1 right now, it is not because this defense has any problems. They shut down the Cleveland Browns offense. That is one of the worst offenses in the NFL, not only statistically, but just having to sit there and watch it. It sort of just puts you to sleep. And even though that was the case last week for the Packers, they still lost that game, which I'm still trying to get over because, that game just left me speechless. And I think now when we look at this Packers team, and we wonder if they can make a deep playoff run and get to the Super Bowl. I thought they could when the season started. I thought that when Micah Parsons came in, my pick was Packers beating the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl. And right now, am I feeling a change of heart? No, not at this point. But watching the Packers offense last week did concern me a little bit. Now, did it make me go from, okay, the Packers can win the Super Bowl to, oh no, they're going to have trouble in the playoffs? Not necessarily, just because there's a few reasons. I think one is the Packers' offensive line has been decimated with injuries. Zach Tom out. He's going to be out likely once again. Aaron Banks, the guy the Packers paid a ton of money to in the offseason, went out, only played in the first half. And so the Packers have been dealing with a lot of issues on the offensive line, which led to them getting absolutely destroyed by the Browns' defensive line. Not just Myles Garrett, but other guys on the D-line, Mason Graham, a few other players. Everyone was getting beat. It wasn't just the backups. It was the starters. It was Rasheed Walker, Elton Jenkins. Everyone was having a pretty bad day. And so if the Packers want to be a Super Bowl caliber team, their offensive line has to get it together. And I think they can once Zach Tom is back, which isn't yet, most likely. And once everyone else is back, I think there's a good chance they can be a good offensive line. If they're not, though, it's going to be tough to play some of the better defenses in the NFL and have a chance, even with this elite defense. Because if you would have told me, the Packers held the Browns to 13 points, I would have said, okay, I mean, the Packers should at least be able to get 14. They should at least be able to score a couple times, even though the Browns have a great defense, just because the Packers defense has put the Packers in a lot of great positions, just field position-wise, because they are shutting down these offenses most of the day. But this Packers offense has to get it together. And so looking at this Cowboys defense, can Jordan Love and the Packers get back on track? Yes. If they do not get back on track, we have a major problem. I'll go from being slightly concerned to being overly concerned, majorly concerned, just because this is the worst defense in the NFL, or one of the worst. 27th in points allowed, 30th in yards allowed. They're currently allowing the most pass yards per game and the most pass yards per play. And Russell Wilson, who just got benched for rookie Jackson Dart, who I think could be a good quarterback. I think there's a lot of promise there for him. He just got benched a week prior, threw for 450 yards against the Cowboys secondary. So if that doesn't tell you something, it tells you that the Giants, a week after Russell Wilson has one of the best games of his career, they don't even look at that as okay, we should keep him playing here, because they must see, okay, well, that was a Cowboys defense. Their defense isn't very good. Obviously, they sort of just put that one, we're not going to look at that game. It doesn't really matter. The Cowboys defense is so bad. And then you have Caleb Williams look like a, elite type quarterback, which I don't think he is. Could he one day get there? I don't think so, but you never know. But the major theme here is the Cowboys defense has let these average to slightly below average quarterbacks look like all-time greats. And so that's why I think the Packers will get back on track in this one. And you look at the Giants, they put up 37. The Bears put up 37. The Packers should put up 30-plus points in this game against the Dallas Cowboys. And the Packers offense, the first couple games, they were very good. They couldn't run the ball, which we'll talk about in a second, but they were able to pass the ball. Jordan Love had one of the highest average depth of target in the NFL at like 13.1 yards after the first 2 weeks. And then this past week, because Jordan Love had no protection, it was just tough for him to get the ball off all day long. And then he makes a very poor decision against the Browns near the end of that game, which cost them the game. It's why they lost. If Jordan Love didn't throw that pick, there's a very good chance, probably like a 90% chance, that the Packers won that game. And so Jordan Love in some of these key big moments in some really big games, the Browns game is not necessarily a big game, but in some big moments, Jordan Love under pressure has played poorly. And I think for me to really feel confident come playoff time, that if there's a one-score game, 3-point game on the line, my trust level in Jordan Love in those playoff games, if this happens this season, at this point, I'd be a little concerned, just because we've seen it happen a lot in these big moments where Jordan Love makes just a bad decision against the Niners multiple times, against the Eagles in the playoffs multiple times. And so it's not to say he's going to always be that type of quarterback, because there's long stretches where in the regular season he doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. It's just those high-pressure moments where you have to have it. He has to be better in those moments. I don't think it should get to that point in this game against the Cowboys, because this defense is just so bad. But I do think Jordan Love will bounce back. I think that we should see a game more like the first two when it comes to the Packers and their passing attack. And the one thing that is slightly concerning right now for the Packers is the fact that their running game has not been good. It was their strength last season with Josh Jacobs. They were one of the better rushing teams in the entire NFL. That was really their focus and the foundation of this Packers offense. And I think part of that did have to do with the reality of Jordan Love and his injuries, his lower leg injuries to his knee, to his groin. And because of that, he wasn't able to maneuver around the pocket like he is now. And the Packers really relied on that a lot. And so far this season, if you look at the Packers and their rushing attack, they're currently 27th in rush yards per play in the NFL. And so the Packers need to get that figured out. I think one of the biggest problems of the Packers offensive line, because while they haven't been great, especially, I mean, they were pretty good the first 2 weeks pass blocking, Packers offensive line. Last week, not so good. Really, really bad. But the one area as well where they've struggled a lot is their run blocking. According to ESPN, they're 28th in ESPN's run block win rate. So one of the worst run blocking units according to ESPN. And I mean, if you're a running back and your offensive line is not opening holes, opening rushing lanes for you, it is very hard to run the ball. Teams have stacked the box a lot against the Packers as well. And so that's something I want to see the Packers solve, and maybe we'll see it this week. I mean, the Cowboys' rushing defense has been somewhat good this year. If you look at just rush yards per play allowed, they're currently 9th in the NFL. But the Packers need to get that situated here. And I think for this game, I mean, with Micah Parsons coming back to Dallas, I mean, when Jerry made the trade, he thought the Cowboys' defense would be better and be able to stop the run. The one issue is that their pass rush has not been as good as it was last year. This year, the Cowboys' defense have the 18th pressure rate in the NFL. Last year, they had the 4th highest pressure rate in the NFL. So I wouldn't be surprised if Parsons and him not being there this season has led to quarterbacks having more time to pass the ball. They haven't gotten pressure at the same rate as last year, and so there's no doubt that I think they're missing him and his presence there, and they're going to experience Micah Parsons in a way this week they haven't experienced ever with him facing off against the Cowboys offensive line and against Dak Prescott. But overall in this game, I just think with the Cowboys injuries, with CeeDee Lamb gone, with just how bad the Cowboys defense has been, the Packers should win this game. And so for this one, I'd say the Packers get back on track. I think the Packers will win this game. I'm going to go 35 Cowboys. I'm going to go 21. 35-21 Packers win this game. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I will be out with a reaction video post-game as always. So hopefully it is a happier video than last week because, anytime the Packers lose, especially in the way they lost last week, I mean, you don't want to have to experience things like that in life. So hopefully we'll have a better experience post-game this week. But thank you guys for watching as always, and I'll see you guys next time.